Hello, friends. It is Ben Marlin once again. Looking at the class roster, I think I remember that I actually know everybody, so you're not surprised to see me here. You know the standard thing about I like for people to be able to spell my name and stuff like that, but this is the video for Calculus 4. It's becoming a bit of a tradition that instead of talking about the syllabus on the first day of class, I just provide a link to a video where I talk about it. If you have questions about the syllabus, make sure and ask them either in class or in office hours or something. Okay. So without further delay, I've been watching YouTube stuff, so I should do what they say. Let's get into it. A lot of people seem to say that. Let me find, of course, they're more competent with their buttons here. I'm trying to share a screen real quick that has the syllabus on it. Yay, there's the syllabus. Okay, so the syllabus that we're looking at real quick here has standard things, course name and number, and that part there I should put in parentheses. I'm going to say and differential equations. The reason for this is Math 226, the vector calculus, isn't really enough to fill a course. So instead of trying to stretch it, we instead are trying to put in some material that will help people out if they're headed into some math-centric kind of discipline. Okay. It's usually offered in the spring. I'm going to be frank with y'all that I'm looking, as we switch to a 14-week, switch back to a 14-week semester, I'm actually looking to eliminate this class, and this is probably the last time it'll be taught. So, that part probably doesn't make too much sense there. Okay. Faculty name and contact information. See, that's how you spell my name. So, and gosh, here I have my office phone number, but you can ignore that because my office phone does not work. So that is my cell phone. So I'm going to put that on a note there. I don't answer the phone when the cell phone either tells me it's probably spam or if it's someone whose number I don't recognize. So if you're calling me, you might as well text me because I'll read the texts, and stuff. But anyway, course meeting information, we're going to be in Frank 220, and many of y'all have had a physics course in that room, so you're hopefully comfortable with that. So 11:30 to 12:45, that was the same time as the Calc 3 course was last semester. My office hours are going to be 10 to 11, so before class on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, days of class. But then also Tuesday afternoons, I'm going to go ahead and try to have office hours then. I will probably be around Tuesday afternoons from 2 to 3. But that's not a sure thing because there's a bunch of meetings I have to go to all the time. So anyway, prerequisites, since this course is Calculus 4, then the prerequisite is Calculus 3, which is also known as multivariable calculus. Okay. Course requirements met. Okay, this is boring stuff that you don't really need to know so much. But this is a course that is required for math majors, either directly or indirectly, and it is something that gets recommended for physics majors. It's indirectly required for physics majors. What I mean by that is that it is a prerequisite to it is either a prerequisite for some courses that you will take in physics, or it's where you learn to do some of the calculation stuff that they'll assume that you know how to do in physics. So That way you can concentrate on actual material instead of concentrating on the calculation part. All right, course description here just kind of runs over what we will look at. And we're going to get through the normal material from vector calculus. And then we're going to go on to some simple ordinary differential equation stuff. Not the kind of complex things about existence and uniqueness and stuff like that that we ought to do in that course. But, you know, at least that much. The textbook here, Calculus Early Transcendentals, we're using the 4th edition now. I don't know what the ISBN is for that. I should look it up and try to put it on here. So if you follow the link to this later, oh wow, I seem to have spelled the guy's name wrong. Anyway, though I should put the ISBN on there once I look it up later. You can get it to the campus bookstore, and because of the way the pricing, the fees for it have changed, it's probably just as easy to go there as to order it from Amazon. So anyway, the course credits, it's a 4-credit-hour course, meets 3 times a week. We already talked about that. One of the things that you need to expect that not everybody knows to expect is that you can expect to do quite a bit of work for the course. Okay, I'm changing how some of the things work in the courses compared to Calc 3, and it probably is going to have you doing more smaller pieces of work. Okay, so course learning outcomes, this just kind of tells you what it is I expect you to be able to do at the end of the course. This is really more useful to somebody else. If you transfer this course somewhere else, the professors at another institution would have to look at a syllabus to see what it is that we actually expect to cover. So the ADA accommodations, if you need anything figured out, talk to me as early as possible. This is usually something that's pretty easy to accommodate, but especially if it's something that, you know, just requires some forethought, let me know about it. Okay, we got to get that sort of thing figured out, but whatever it is to be figured out, we'll figure it out. So talk to me as soon as possible. Don't put it off until the exam. Okay. The honor code, this is a big deal. Do your own work. If you don't do your own work, the consequences are extreme. So doing your own work includes, and the idea of plagiarism includes, if you go get a tutor to hold your hand and walk you through homeworks, that's really representing their work as yours. Okay. You should, if you go talk to a tutor, you should be taking notes to the tutor of, hey, I'm doing problems like this. And the tutor should help you figure out how to do some problems like that, not that exact problem. Okay. Unauthorized collaboration. Yeah, this is something that we shouldn't have to worry about. I have shifted things in this course where we're going to actually have the exams in the classroom, and that should make the exams like a little bit lower stakes because it has to be something that can be completed in a certain time frame. Okay. Unauthorized use of materials. There's not a lot to be said about that, but please bear in mind that if you're asked to do a calculation by hand, that means that Symbolab, Wolfram Alpha, and every other website that's out there are out of limits for that. Okay. Attendance policy. See, the setup is if you miss more than 4 classes. That sounds wrong. Let me think for just a second. We actually have 12 weeks. We have 36 class meetings. It's supposed to be something around 1/5. of that. So 1/5 would be more like 6 or 7. So if you miss more than 6 classes, you may be withdrawn from the course. That would be like missing 2 entire weeks of class. Okay. Bear in mind, if it is excused absences, that's different than if it's unexcused absences. How do you get an excused absence? Let me know you're going to be gone ahead of time. That's all you have to do to get an excused absence. If you get something that came up, drop me an email. You don't have to give me a reason. If you have something that comes up and you're letting me know after the fact in order to ask for it to be excused, then you have to give me a reason. Okay. Make the reason sensible. Okay. I have occasionally had people tell me they couldn't make it to class because they were so hungover. And I had to say, stop right there. Try a better excuse, you know. So that's that. All right, here's probably what you're actually interested in, the grading system here. I'm going to put 10% on participation. That is probably more than I ought to. Essentially, participation is, did you show up? And did you seem like you were actually there for the course, you know? So that sort of thing is pretty easy to take care of. The online homework is going to be a shift from what I've done in the past. I'm going to have an online homework assignment for every day of class. Don't be terrified, okay? This will be an online homework assignment that'll be 3 problems. And there'll be 3 problems like the kind of stuff that we did in class. I'm not going to collect the notes that you take in class because I don't think that really serves any purpose. Yeah. And so this sort of thing of having you do a few little problems along, I think will serve that purpose better. Okay. Then about once a week, I'm going to ask you to do some written homework. I'll pick out like 5 problems or something that represent the kinds of things that we're doing. Sometimes those 5 problems may be something where I ask you to learn how to do something with the computer. Okay. I'm very interested in the notion of getting a computer algebra system involved with the class. However, I do not own Mathematica. So I'm not going to be doing Mathematica. My basic inclination at the moment is heading towards either GeoGebra or Python. Let's talk about that a little bit in class. The thing with Python is that, you know, everybody uses it for other things, but, you know, we can make that work. Anyway, though, yeah, that's the sort of thing. Expect that about once a week. Naturally, the week that an exam falls, we won't have a homework assignment that week. But, you know, speaking of exams, we're just going to have a midterm and a final. That's it. Okay. I'm going to rephrase that. I'm not going to call them a midterm and a final. I'm going to call them a first exam and a last exam. Okay. It's not going to fall during final exam week. Okay. We're going to get the exams out of the way ahead of time. And then in final exam week, you should have the slightly lower pressure idea of a project presentation. Okay. You're probably having this show up in all your classes, so you're probably used to this idea, but that will happen during the final exam week. The presentation will, that is. Your grades, I don't do anything imaginative with these 90, 80, 70, 60. And I have discussions sometimes with other faculty who use different grading systems. And the thing is, in particular, I had somebody say to me that they used the entire 0 to 100%. And for them, a failing grade was under 20%. and then a D was 20 to 40 and so forth. So they just kind of doubled the ranges. Well, I kind of grade each problem like that. And then I kind of expect you to get more than half of the problems figured out. So my grading system is not really, it's certainly not innovative or anything. Okay. Okay, required and suggested readings. You have a textbook. You should read it. So I can't remember where it's at, but I ran across something the other day that was that I had prepared a presentation called How to Class. How should you go about trying to succeed in school? Show up to class. Y'all are good at that. Okay. Read the textbook. I've never had hardly anybody in a math class who really read the textbook. So read the textbook before coming to class. That'll be something you'll have to think about a little bit. Okay. And then ask questions and do the work. Now, I said those in kind of an out of order thing. You probably are thinking that you should do the work and then ask the questions. I think it'll help you to try to figure out questions to ask before you start working. Okay. So that's that sort of thing there comes into play because of this. With the textbook, I would like to suggest that you try to figure out before an upcoming class what you should read. One way you could do this is at the end of every class, you could say, hey, Ben, what you want us to read for next time? And I'll tell you what you should read for next time. Okay. I have a schedule written, but as I'm preparing notes for y'all, I'm discovering that my schedule probably needs to be slid around a little bit. So yeah, sorry about that. But in any case, as I say here, some things are in flux and I can't write a calendar that won't change. And some people need something like that that's immutable, that doesn't change. So, all right, here's our major assignments. I made reference a minute ago about online homework. It's going to just be like 3 problems. And what I'm doing is going and setting up my open math, and I'm picking out like 10 problems that are similar to stuff that we'll do in class on a given day and asking you to do, or asking it to choose 3 of them for you. So different students should get a different group of problems, but you know, as per usual, there are some late passes with that. I think I told it to give you 12 late passes with 24 hours on each one of them. So written homework as specified. So this will always run a little bit behind. So like this coming Friday, I'll give you a homework that's over the stuff for this past week. And then I'll ask you to turn it in by next Friday. Okay. That kind of puts you in that mode of having to think back to what you did before, while you're also thinking about the things that you're currently doing. And I hope that'll help you form some connections. Okay. All right, the first exam is set up at the 17th of February. That feels like it's a little early. Maybe, hang on a second. I'm going to look at this calendar that I've got written here. See whether I've got that. Nope, that's about right. Oh, I see what it is. The setup of it is that since it's the 17th of February, it is in fact covering the material that is normally vector calculus stuff. And then we'll go on to the more differential equations oriented stuff after that. So it's a little bit early, but you know. Then exam 2 is going to be on the 7th of April. That should be right at the end. Look down through here. Yeah, that is the Friday before reading day on the following Monday. So it shouldn't be too rough. Okay. Then your project proposal, I want you to propose something to me that you intend to do. Oh, I should have made those add up to 100, shouldn't I? Oh, well. So your project proposal, you are looking for something that is applied and which involves some vector calculus and or some differential equations. If what you're presenting about doesn't contain something from this class, please don't present it for this class. Okay. If it contains something that is outside this class and something inside this class, that's fine. I always want you to expand on things and reach out and stuff. But if it's just completely nothing to do with this class, English literature is a noble subject to study, but it just doesn't really fit in here. Okay. All right, so that's those. There's assignment details. I'm not going to read those to you, even though I've probably said them to you in essence here, but I will leave it to you to read those at your leisure. As for how the semester runs, we will meet in the classroom every day, pretty much. I will have handouts for you where we will work through some problems. You will have read the section the night before, and we'll figure out some problems together. I want to try some different formats occasionally because of where we're set up at. I can actually set up some chalkboards with some problems on them and ask y'all to do something, and then to go around and look at what each of the other folks have done. So, something I got suggested as a format that I've not thought about before is that sometimes maybe I'll solve a problem ahead of time and screw it up, as opposed to screwing it up right in front of you. Yeah, I know. But I'll purposely screw it up and put it up on the screen for y'all and ask you to find out what's wrong with it and why the way that I approached it was wrong. Okay. So those are a couple of things that I'm thinking about doing there, just to shake up the format a little bit. I would appreciate some input from y'all on the first day of how much of that you feel good about. If it's going to bother you, I don't know how to say this really well. I will try to relate this to my own experiences. I have a son at home who does not tolerate change. He will not eat at Carolina Diner that is not the Carolina Diner that's over in Quaker Village. If we go to another location of it, he's like, nope, out of here. So if it bugs you, the notion of having to find what's wrong in my work, maybe that kind of problem is something that we can't do very much because, if several people, it bothers them, maybe it's a bad idea. Likewise, if you get really worried about doing work on a board, on a chalkboard, that without having, a strict outline of exactly what to do, let me know about that. I had a student a couple of semesters ago when I tried that sort of thing who would just sit in the classroom and ignore what everybody else was doing, which meant that he didn't do real well with participation, but sometimes that's what people will do. Okay, anyway, though, give me some feedback about what you feel comfortable with and what you don't feel comfortable with. We'll talk about things. We'll get through this. That's one of the big things that you need to know about college stuff is your professors are reasonable people. They're not meaning to give you things that are crazy to do. If you're having a hard time with anything, come talk to them, you know. And as long as you're putting an effort in, usually you're going to get through it. Okay. All right. Anyway, thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.